We do. Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Happy Friday, y'all. We made it to the weekend. We're doing a quick show to kick off Friday. There was one issue that there is something we can do about, and I wanted to talk to you about it before Friday Peace Talks. I also wanted to remind everybody that Peace Talks are tonight at 9. And it'll work fine if it's just us having fun, hanging out. In fact, that's been a very re-energizing show to do. However, the goal is, the show is based around the fact that our ideas are better than their ideas. Our ideas are better than the ideas of the people who are getting in their way. And that those people, the voters of the people who are in the way, are getting bad information. So if we're wrong, we want to find out. If they're wrong, we want to show them. And it works best if we invite people who don't agree with us, Saturday through Thursday to Friday Peace Talks. It works best. So I'm asking you to find somebody who doesn't normally engage with leftist content to come on by and hang out with us. We're going to do the same thing we did last week, wherein we offer the audience opportunities to share clips, and I do believe it is going to be a way in which we convert people from a misguided set of ideologies. All right, well, what can we do this morning? What's the reason for the morning stream? Well, aside from giving you all day to find some folks to bring on down to the Peace Talks, also, if you only know other leftists, first of all, you must be in a very chill community, and good for you. Second, invite them down. Lordy knows your old pal Jake could use the audience. But what are we talking about today? We're talking about a little video by Bo of the Fifth Column, which follows up on the news about Justin. There was two Justins in. Okay, yeah. We're looking at a video that follows up on the news of Justice Clarence Thomas taking bribes, and it just so happens that Bo brings up a really, really interesting point that we can take advantage of. I'm not going to mess around with this. I'm just going to show you. Here is Bo of the Fifth Column talking about reactions to the revelations that Clarence Thomas has been taking bribes.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So today we are going to talk about reactions from public officials when it comes to the reporting that has come out from ProPublica about Clarence Thomas and the very unique travel arrangements he is alleged to have participated in. Okay, so the allegations came out. I said if there was an investigation, a lot of people were like, do you not expect one? I'm not sure. It's unprecedented. You don't really know what they're going to do here. There have been some statements from public officials, all Democrats, which is completely unsurprising. So what do you have? You have Elizabeth Warren came out, basically do something very vague as to what the something is. You have Sheldon Whitehouse, who is a Democratic senator, longtime critic of the ethics standards at the Supreme Court. Definitely wanting action, but again, not real specific. AOC came out. She was pretty specific. She wants him impeached.
Now you see, this is why I tend to like progressives more than everybody else. Not just agree with, although I do generally agree with progressives more than anybody else. But if you're judging this just on who I like, which I am for the purposes of this, honest to God, like in terms of how they operate, it goes progressives, GOP, like traditional Republicans, a long gap, then Democrats, then MAGA. Not in terms of who I agree with politically. I just want to be absolutely clear. But in terms of whose method of operating vibes with what I like. Yeah, AOC's not messing around. I don't know why Elizabeth Warren is not just coming out and saying it. There's no reasonable explanation. Is she playing some political game? Well, she shouldn't. This is too important. Is she not sure how Thomas should be handled? Really? Really? You don't know what to do when a judge is taking bribes? No. Be frank about it. I think too many politicians play politics with judicial matters, and this is where we are. One truth of our justice system is when it comes to prosecuting politicians, other politicians do need to get involved. They do need to give their okay so it does not look like the Justice Department is interfering with this or that. It shouldn't need to be that way, but it is that way. And everybody should be reacting like AOC is reacting. But I'm not going to make this video all too long. I want to clip this in a way that makes it easily shareable. So let's let Bo finish up.
Then you have the one person that matters, Senator Dick Durbin, who is the top person on the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is a person that has a lot of sway over what is going to happen, if anything, when it comes to this situation. And basically, to sum it up, he said, well, we will act. What does act mean? No clue. It could be that they actually really look into it and move with AOC's idea.
Two things. Number one, good morning, Rustbox. Good to see you, brother. Thing number two, when a politician says something like that, they are taking the temperature. When a politician says, we will act, specific actions TBD, the very next thing they do is listen. Who just heard him speak? Who's paying attention to this issue? Who gives a damn? If the answer is no one, if they don't hear from their constituents at all, if they don't get asked for interviews all weekend about this, they're going to say, okay, let me factor this into my calculations. How much political capital am I going to have to spend? How much do I want to deal with the Republicans putting me in the spotlight and saying I'm a socialist and sending people after my family? And how much am I going to gain? Are people going to even care about this? Remember that. That's what Dick Durbin right now is doing. He's waiting to see if we care.
Or come up with some other method of holding him accountable. It could mean establishing a stricter code of ethics for the Supreme Court and letting it go. We don't know. Right now, I think there's a lot of people who are just processing. They know it's wrong, but they don't know exactly how to respond politically yet. can tell from the comments about it, I think most people watching this channel would like to see him impeached or resign, which that may be on the table as something that he might consider, depending on how widespread this practice is. But right now, we have no clue what they're really going to do. I mean, you have a vow from the person that matters saying, we will act. But what act means, well, that's really open to interpretation there, isn't it? So that's really all there is to know at this point. There will probably not be substantial developments. I wouldn't expect to hear more till like Monday. I could be wrong about that, but my guess is those with the influence to actually do something about this, they're going to take their time in plotting out a course of action. They were probably kind of blindsided by it. So
we are not likely to hear about it until Monday. But he's not wrong. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Dick Durbin is going to wait until Monday, because I think he wants to spend the weekend taking the temperature of the nation. What has changed? What has changed? For Dick Durbin, this is the first time that, come on, there we go. This is the first time in the post-Trump indictment era that his committee has really, the Judiciary Committee, has really been tasked with something like this. Didn't take long. It didn't take long. Not a surprise given the leaning of our court. It was a court appointed by, largely, corrupt people. It is a corrupt court. Of course, didn't take long to find something worthy of their time. The earlier we write Dick Durbin, contact information in the description, the more we are going to affect the conversation. Why did I come on? To do a bonus stream this morning. To get you to join me in writing an email. We can get 5, 6 people to write an email before 5 o'clock. That is going to affect what Dick Durbin thinks about all weekend. Believe it or not, so few people, particularly people on the left, so few people take advantage of the fact that we can contact our representatives. So few people are even aware of who's on what committee, who's in charge of this or that just 5 emails, just 5, can literally change the way America operates if they're sent to the right people at the right time. The right person, if we want Justice Clarence Thomas, Jesus Christ, Clarence Thomas, there we go, out of that office, off the bench. The right person is Dick Durbin. The right time is right now. Today, before this man leaves his office for the weekend, we want 5 emails sent. I just sent 1. That means we need 4 of yous. 4 of yous to send an email saying you want Clarence Thomas gone. It can have a massive effect. Right, Dick Durbin, he is the guy that's ultimately going to make the decision. He just said he's going to do something, and now he's taking the temperature of the nation. Tell them the temperature. Red hot. Tell them what we want done. No more corrupt justices. Somebody does. It's not even just about Clarence Thomas. Yeah, I don't like Clarence Thomas. I don't. There's almost nothing he has done as a judge that I agree with. But it's not even about that. If Clarence Thomas can do this, any other justice can do this. If you're a MAGA person, guess what? George Soros, since that's the guy you hate so very much, he can bribe our Supreme Court with fancy plane trips and a vacation in Europe. He can bribe our Supreme Court. Anybody can. So don't put up with that. Right, Dick Durbin. Contact information is in the description. Write him. Tell him you want Thomas Gonzo. How we doing today, folks? I hope we're doing well. Well, as long as we're here, I just want to remind everybody, Friday Peace Talks tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring your friends. Bring them on down. If they are leftists, Lord knows, I'm looking to grow this audience. I'm looking to get us as much help as possible so that when we do things like write Dick Durbin in the near future, instead of going for 5 emails, we can be going for 500. Can you just imagine? Mercy me. But fortunately, and by the way, that'll increase the number of times where simply writing an email is effective. Right now, just 5 is all we need, really. We just need a handful of people, a smattering of people to write Dick Durbin. But there are other times where 5 wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be realistic for me to say this won't be a waste of your time. Yet 500 would be. And if we get a big enough audience in the Wicked community, that means the work we have to do will become easier. So invite some people down if they're lefties, by all means. If they are right-wingers, invite them down. I would love to convert some people because I am confident enough that we are right that I feel we can fearlessly watch any piece of propaganda they're watching, they suggest we watch, and pick it apart and show them that they have been listening to lies. So invite them down. I would very much appreciate that. We're going to be taking viewer suggestions. Friday Peace Talks, 9 p.m. Okay, now the rest of this little stream. We're just going to have fun. I got no illusions. The majority report's coming up at noon. I want to watch that just as much as everybody else. So we are going to watch a couple of pieces. We've got Brian Tyler Cohen and Glenn Kirshner. We're just going to watch these. If there's something I think you can do, I'll chime in. But for the most part, we're just doing this for funsies. We're hanging out in a Friday pre-official stream. It's just the Wicked community and your old pal Jake. Let's check out this ironic request from Jim Jordan.
So, friends, Republican Representative Jim Jordan, who himself defied a congressional subpoena, is now issuing congressional subpoenas in an attempt to interfere in the New York State prosecution of Donald Trump.
I got kicked right in the subpoenas.
Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Before we talk about what he just did, let's take a look at his current status. He's a member of Congress, he's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, and he committed the crime of contempt of Congress by defying a lawfully issued congressional subpoena, but he has yet to be indicted, held accountable for that crime. A crime he inarguably committed because a congressional subpoena was lawfully issued to him. He defied it. He refused to appear. He thumbed his nose at Congress.
Ain't it just maddening? But I'm so glad Glenn Kirshner's talking about this, and I'm so glad that he's respectable enough that he's being invited on to MSNBC. I could have the exact same YouTube subscriber count as this guy, and I'm not getting invited to MSNBC, and rightly so. No critique there. But this guy is. This guy can put on a suit and tie and not look like a used car salesman, but look like what he is, which is a professional lawyer. And he's on MSNBC. I think I saw him on ABC as well. He's doing major network media and talking about this stuff. And it's such a relief. Like honestly, I feel my chest feels less tight when I remember that there is somebody out there saying things like, yes, this punk in the top right corner, he broke the law. And I know, wild idea, but we might want to enforce that law. So, good. Go get him.
And yet, here he is, issuing subpoenas of his own, precisely the same kind of subpoena he violated.
The irony.
He's issuing subpoenas in his capacity as chairman of the House Judiciary Committee in an attempt to interfere with New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg's prosecution of Donald Trump. So I think that sort of tees up where we are in this upside-down world, where the rule of law is almost unrecognizable. So against that backdrop, let's have a look at what Jim Jordan just did. Here's the new reporting from Politico. Headline, House...
Oh, good to see you, folks. Ooh, lordy Lou. Let me switch this up. Get a little blue box there. Nice. I don't know how I feel about that box behind me. I go in between really liking the separation it gives and then just finding it confusing. Let me know what you think. Catherine Wolf and Real Bill P. Good to see yous both. Just want to remind y'all, if you have somebody who perhaps, whatever political spectrum, wherever they fall on the political spectrum, invite them to Friday Peace Talks tonight at 9 p.m. And also, if you missed the earlier segment, write Dick Durbin. Link in the description. If y'all saw the Thomas video yesterday, we are looking to inspire Dick Durbin, to tell Dick Durbin, who's the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, what we would like done, because he has said something will be done about Clarence Thomas. Well, we should let him know that the American people want Clarence Thomas TF out. All right, back to Mr. Kirshner.
GOP fires off first subpoena in probe of Trump indictment. And that article begins, the House GOP on Thursday fired off its first subpoena in its investigation of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office, escalating a standoff over the indictment of former President Donald Trump. House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan is summoning Mark Pomerantz, a former County Special Assistant District Attorney in New York, to appear before closed doors for a deposition on April 20th, according to a copy of the subpoena viewed by Politico. And then this quote from Jordan addressing Pomerantz.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear that quote. If you guys don't remember, Mark Pomerantz, I think I got this right. Mark Pomerantz really wanted Trump prosecuted. He wanted Trump prosecuted for more than Alvin Bragg, the 34 felony charges. Good God. 34 felony counts that Bragg threw at Trump. Pomerantz wanted more than that. This guy ain't a friend of Trump. I don't know if Jim Jordan, what he's imagining here, is he imagining that Pomerantz will simply not take him up on that, and so he can say, "Ha-ha, you see? They also defy subpoenas, so you can't be mad at me." That's what I imagine Jim Jordan sounds like most of the time. Or is he thinking, this guy doesn't like Bragg? And I'm normally surrounded by Republicans, so I think he's just going to trash Bragg. I honestly don't know. What does he think this guy is going to do? If Pomerantz gets in front of him and Pomerantz accepts this invitation, I have no idea what he thinks he might gain. Maybe just painting all prosecutors as anti-Trump. But I mean, as we're going to see next week as well, when more of what we talked about earlier, the Republicans are talking about how Democrats are quote unquote Trump haters. Well, what are they going to do about it? They're going to ask them questions about Trump, and unlike how it goes when it's going the other way, Democrats can answer things under oath and hold their heads high. So it's just going to keep making Trump look worse and worse and worse. And not because the lighting is bad and we're not seeing the situation clearly, but because Republicans are dumb enough to shine a light on the situation and thereby give Democrats the opportunity to tell us very clearly what has happened. Fascinating. Let's see what this clown thinks is going to happen.
Based on your unique role as a special assistant district attorney leading the investigation into President Trump's finances, you are uniquely situated to provide information that is relevant and necessary to inform the committee's oversight and potential legislative reforms, Jordan wrote in a separate letter to Pomerantz that accompanied the subpoena. It's unusual for Congress to subpoena a line prosecutor, and Jordan, in his Thursday letter, alleges that Bragg's office directed Pomerantz not to cooperate with oversight. Boy, does that feel like a little bit of projection from Jim Jordan, who defied a subpoena himself, who refused to participate in congressional oversight. The article continues. Bragg's office issued a fiery rebuke of the subpoena, painting it as House Republicans' latest attempt to meddle by intruding on the sovereignty of the state of New York by interfering in an ongoing criminal matter in state court. Friends, let's put a pin in that.
Yeah, and I'm just going to very quickly say that, to me, that makes sense. You don't want to establish the precedent that Congress has this ability. They should not have this ability. And if they do, this is one of the few times I believe Democrats should mimic the corruption and literally just hold the GOP to the same standards that they hold everybody else to. I don't mean do the exact same things, but just every opportunity that comes up to say, this is where, if we were Republicans, we would have done this thing, but we're decent humans. That's what Democrats should do. All right, let's let them rock.
Interfering in a state court prosecution. The article continues. The House GOP continues to attempt to undermine an active investigation and ongoing New York criminal case with an unprecedented campaign of harassment and intimidation. Pin number 2. Repeated efforts to weaken state and local law enforcement actions are an abuse of power and will not deter us from our duty to uphold the law, Bragg's office added. Of course, friends, let's not forget the backdrop against which Jordan is trying to interfere in the New York criminal prosecution. The Pomerantz subpoena comes just days after Trump appeared in court in New York and pled not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Prosecutors allege that Trump, the first former president ever indicted, tried first to bury and then cover up damaging allegations about an extramarital affair by falsifying company records. Okay, friends, and just one more paragraph from the Politico article, and this may be my favorite.
Ooh, all right, just one more, but only because you sold me, Kirshner.
This comes from New York District Attorney's Office General Counsel Leslie Dubeck, who tells Jim Jordan, point blank, "We urge you to refrain from these inflammatory accusations, withdraw your demand for information, and let the criminal justice process proceed without unlawful political interference." There's our third pin, friends. Okay, friends, let's go back and pull out all three pins. The New York District Attorney's Office expressly told Jim Jordan the following: "You are interfering in an ongoing matter in state court. You are engaged in an unprecedented campaign of harassment and intimidation, and we urge you to stop your unlawful political interference." You know, it sounds like contempt of Congress for defying that congressional subpoena previously isn't the only crime Jim Jordan committed. Under New York State law, specifically New York State Penal Law Section 195.05, it is a crime to obstruct governmental administration. What does that crime involve? A person is guilty of obstructing governmental administration when that person prevents or attempts to prevent a public servant from performing an official function by means of intimidation, physical force, or interference.
My hope, and I think we're just about there, my hope is that Democrats, particularly, by the way, if you write Dick Durbin and tell him that you want Justice Thomas booted from the bench for his taking of bribes. But my hope is that Democrats are in a place now where they are done trying to appeal to unreasonable voters. The voters who they have been trying to appeal to hate them, will always hate them, and exclusively listen to lies about them. And when Democrats are wishy-washy, when Democrats are weak, spineless, when they are afraid to treat Republicans like the lawbreakers that they are, it doesn't convince anybody that Democrats are reasonable. It only demonstrates the reality, which is that Democrats, at least they used to be, are weak. That's what it does. But I don't think they do that anymore. I think there is a good chance that Democrats will be calling for Jim Jordan to be prosecuted. And yes, we're going to enter into the phase of America where Republicans say, this is McCarthyism. It's McCarthyism. They're just going after anybody who's a Republican. Yeah, they're going to say that no matter what. The fact is, it only is politics interfering with justice when you, and this is going to be crazy to understand. I'm going to see if I can phrase this in a way that makes it easy to understand. When you allow politics to interfere with justice. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but it just because the interference is making you not pursue justice, it doesn't mean that's not politics interfering with justice. And right now, the DOJ just doesn't touch politicians. They're just not a class that the DOJ is allowed to touch. And Republicans have taken advantage of that by being professional criminals. So hit them with this. Throw the book at them, please, for Christ's sake.
Which is precisely what Jim Jordan is doing, what he has done, and what the New York District Attorney's Office expressly told him to stop doing. So really the only question becomes, will Jim Jordan be held accountable for this second crime? You know, how many free passes do members of Congress get for their criminal conduct? So friends, let's finish with this. What should Mark Pomerantz do now that he has been subpoenaed to testify about the work he did as a prosecutor when he was investigating the crimes of Donald Trump?
I'm going to jump in. I hope this is what Glenn says, because here's what I think. Deny that subpoena, because Pomerantz, even if he disagreed with Bragg, they only disagreed about the methods, not the goal, which is pursuing justice. Pomerantz understands that this is an illegal request. He should not treat it like it is a legal request. And further, Bragg should pursue charges against Jordan. All right, let's figure this out.
Well, he could, one, defy the subpoena, just blow it off, the way Jim Jordan did. But he won't. He's more law-abiding than Jim Jordan.
I don't know that that's law-abiding. If an official asks you to do something illegal, that is not a legal request.
Or he could, two, fight the subpoena in court, claiming that Congress has overstepped its constitutional bounds by trying to interfere in a state court prosecution, which frankly would violate the 10th Amendment, among other things. Or he could, three, comply with the subpoena and testify about those things that wouldn't compromise the ongoing prosecution of Donald Trump or compromise any grand jury protected information. And we'll talk more in the near future about the consequences of those three options. But let's finish where we started. Letting somebody who criminally violated a congressional subpoena issue congressional subpoenas makes a mockery of Congress and of the rule of law.
Yeah, that's going to be fascinating to watch. I think in the near future, we're going to start seeing more and more Republicans getting criminal charges put up against them. And if we want this to start happening faster, which we should, because it's for the Republicans' own good, frankly. Right now, they are adding to their criminal charges, and they're getting new criminals every day to join them. It's for their own good. We should be pushing for this to happen quicker. Obviously, talk to your representatives, talk to the DOJ. But in this particular request with Pomerantz and Jordan, we don't have to get involved. This is one where we watch. There is nothing, there's no way this can go that will be good for Jim Jordan. Pomerantz shows up and testifies. The public will hear. Jim Jordan's voters will see that he has arranged this, and the public will hear some rough things about Donald Trump. Pomerantz takes it to court. The public will see Jim Jordan has requested something he doesn't have the authority to request. And ultimately, this could and should result in Jim Jordan himself being indicted. It doesn't look good for him regardless. Franny P says Jordan is imagining his navel lint is gold. Yeah. Real Bill P. Jordan wants Pomerantz to testify behind closed doors, of course, so that he can run to Trump with the evidence. Pomerantz should insist on public testimony. Yeah, he should. He absolutely should. And in fact, I think by default, testimony should be public, unless there's a very, very good reason not to have it. So, yeah, he should insist on that. I have no idea what he's going to do, but we'll keep you updated. Well, that was just a brief stream to kick off Friday, to remind everybody to invite somebody down to Friday Peace Talks if you can. Otherwise, we'll see you tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's Friday Peace Talks. That is where we look at media submitted by the live audience. Anybody is welcome to submit a link to a piece of media that they feel we should watch and we should discuss. And we will discuss it. We will fact check it live. This is because I am confident that we are correct. This is, generally speaking, a left-leaning show, and I am confident that the facts are behind us and that we can make a case for our politics being good for just about anybody that can stop by. I'm also confident that the people who are our strongest opposition are being lied to, and I would like to show that to them. So bring on your uncle that only watches Fox. Bring on your coworker who considers themselves a fiscal conservative but social yada yada yada. Bring them by. We'll talk about where they're getting their media. We'll be polite. We'll be kind. And most importantly, we'll be correct. Friday Peace Talks tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, link in the description, write Dick Durbin. Tell him you want Clarence Thomas gonzo. All right, folks. Thank you for joining me today, this morning. I'll see you tonight. This has been WYCD Wicked. My name's Jake.